Some key reasons why the candidate would likely achieve a Band 9 score. By the end, it says more and more people are shifting to a plant-based diet. Why is this the case? Do you think this is a positive or a negative development? Now it starts with a statement. More and more people are shifting to a plant-based diet. This is the topic that you'll write about. People are moving from eating meat to eating primarily food from plants, such as fruit, vegetables, and cereals. Then there are two questions. Why is this the case? Do you think this is a positive or a negative development? The first question is asking about reasons why people are changing to a plant-based diet. And the second question is asking you to state your position or opinion about that. Also, notice the language in the statement. It uses the present continuous verb tense. More and more people are shifting to a plant-based diet. We use the present continuous to describe a trend, something that is developing now. This prompt is a double question essay type, but there can be other types of essay questions in writing task 2. Feel free to pause the video and read through the candidate's entire response. This might also be a good time to click that subscribe button so you'll know when we release more IELTS videos. Look at the thesis statement. That's the second sentence here. This essay will examine the key drivers of this trend and argue that it is a largely positive development. The Band 9 descriptor for the task response criterion says, a clear position is presented which directly answers the questions. This thesis statement shows that the candidate is going to answer both questions and that they have a clear position, that it's a largely positive development. This paragraph helps to fulfill the requirements of the task response descriptor. Ideas are relevant, fully extended, and well supported. It provides two clear reasons for an increase in plant-based diets: people's ethical or environmental concerns. Each idea is extended and supported with examples: inhumane conditions and deforestation and greenhouse gas emissions. Also, notice how the candidate has ensured their ideas are relevant to this prompt by relating them to a current trend or development. Remember, the question in the prompt asks you to explain why more and more people are shifting to a plant-based diet now. So this candidate says, in recent years, confronting information about practices involved in some large-scale meat and dairy farming has emerged. This shows a real depth of understanding of the prompt and how to respond with relevant ideas. Let's look at how the candidate fulfills the grammatical range and accuracy criterion in this paragraph. One of the descriptors says, punctuation and grammar are used appropriately throughout. Here's a complex sentence using appropriate verb tenses and voice. The candidate says information has emerged, using the present perfect tense, active voice, to describe a recent change. Then they say animals are raised, using the present simple tense for something that is generally true, in the passive voice because the people doing the action aren't important. There are multiple phrases and clauses in this sentence, and commas are accurately used to connect them all. Let's look at the next paragraph and see one key thing the candidate does to help boost their score in task response. In this paragraph, the candidate answers the second question in the essay prompt. They explain their position, that the development is generally positive, and give relevant reasons with examples to support it. But then they add a point about some possible negative consequences of the development. They say, a major shift away from animal products would have negative consequences for that industry, however, and explain that mitigation strategies would be needed to lessen the impact. By acknowledging that some aspects of an increase in plant-based diets may not be as positive as others, the candidate is able to fulfill the task response descriptor which says, The prompt is appropriately addressed and explored in depth. This paragraph is also a great example of how to meet the coherence and cohesion descriptor. Cohesion is used in such a way that it rarely attracts attention. Look at all the signal language in this paragraph. Firstly, for example, therefore, secondly, as a result, however, thus. Almost every sentence starts with one of these words or phrases. There are so many, they take your attention away from the ideas. Let's compare the two paragraphs. The candidates paragraph on the right uses signal language only when necessary to link the ideas clearly, including, more importantly, and however. And they only begin a sentence with a linking phrase once. You can follow the ideas easily, but you don't notice the signal language. Reach the final paragraph. In the conclusion, the candidate repeats the ideas from the body of the essay to summarize their points, but they use completely different words. For example, in the first sentence, the candidate repeats the reasons for shifting to a plant-based diet, a desire to be more compassionate towards other living creatures, and less destructive of the environment. This is very different from the language they used in the body paragraph. Many people feel they can no longer ethically justify eating meat and concerned about climate change. This variety helps them to fulfill the Band 9 descriptor for lexical resource. A wide range of vocabulary is used accurately and appropriately.